Hey everyone, it's Wakinyan.
This is Kris.
And we're down here at Philly Music, of course, and we're going to be talking about some of the things you need as a working musician. So here is my personal guitar. I've had to do some work on this one, and the store had to do some work on this one. We got it in, and it was all in pieces. So our electronics guy, Jeff, went ahead and put in some new pickups, new potentiometers, some switching. I've had to do some personal work of it on my own. I've had to put a new nut, and I had to file down the frets. So this is a working guitar, as you can tell by the condition that it's in. I'm starting to put some wear up there. This is a really cool ARIA Pro 2 from the 1980s. This is a made in Japan guitar. So I obviously have to have strap locks if I'm playing live. I kind of play in some heavier music, you know, post-punk and hardcore stuff. So I had to make sure my guitar's not flying off of me. This one's got me through a lot of recording sessions and live settings as well. So I can see with your bass as well, Kris. So you have the strap locks. We have a different kind. I use kind of the SCHALLER. Kris is kind of using the rubber fender style.
Yeah.
Right. And then what else do you have on here, Kris?
Quite a bit. So this is a Michael Kelly Element. It's kind of like their take on a jazz bass. It's actually pretty decent bass. I did swap out the string trees that they had up here, and I put two. It's kind of circle. I don't know really how to describe those best. Just the circle string trees. I also took out their nut and I put in a 0 fret. This is actually going to be made by a company called Zero Glide, if I got that correct. Basically, it helps you get your action about as low as you can without getting buzz, but it also increases your tuning stability and your overall sustain, which is kind of imperative when you're playing a lot of different genres. So you kind of need that, especially if you're recording. Sorry, I wanted to add that in there. I also went ahead and rolled the fretboard edges on here, kind of rounded my frets just a little bit to kind of make it a little bit more comfortable and easy to play. You don't really want to get your hand cut up after playing for several hours and get it sweaty. It's very easy to do if you have some pretty sharp fret edges there.
Yeah.
So that's one thing I went ahead and did there.
And then you've got this piece down here, which you seem to get a lot of questions about. What is that and what's it do for you?
So it's a bass ramp. They're an interesting little piece of hardware. If you have noticed, there's a lot of boutique bass builders that incorporate them either in their pickups or already just come with the bass. I did notice a few Ibanez basses lately, like they're really nice. What's their is it the Workshop series? I think it's a really nice master built basses. Some of them come with it.
Okay.
But basically, it's kind of like an efficiency kind of tool. It helps you play a little bit more consistently and faster. It also keeps you really mainly from just digging through the string and wasting energy. I play a lot of jazz, and when we get cooking real fast or playing a lot of up-tempo stuff, I can waste a lot of energy and tire my hand out if my hand is and my fingers are constantly digging through the string all the way through. But when I have this, it's not going to happen. I can play pretty consistently and pretty quickly throughout the whole board.
So it kind of like forces you to ease up, essentially.
And it kind of helps you play with a little bit better technique as well.
Yeah.
So you can kind of follow through and track your thumb behind everything.
Yeah, for sure.
Also kind of helps you play in one spot.
Yeah.
That way your sound is a little bit more consistent. That way you're not shifting from the bridge to the neck, because you are going to get two completely different tones when you play over either position. So it kind of helps you limit yourself.
Yeah. So did you also upgrade the pickups in that?
Yeah,
as well?
I put they're the Aguilar. Son of a gun, why am I forgetting right now? They're the hum canceling jazz bass pickups from Aguilar.
Very nice.
Definitely recommend them. They're awesome. I also put in a preamp from, I believe it was Obsidian wire in here. It's just a solderless preamp that's easy for me to just pop everything in. That way I didn't mess with the leads on the pickups.
So what's the controls?
It's just a standard jazz bass, so I have volume, and then one single tone control.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, you got quite the instrument. I mean, they're both. You can see we use the crap out of them. My fretboard's dirty, and I guess I should mention I got 2 volume, 2 tone, and then coil splits for each pickup on mine, plus 3-way switch. So
it's pretty abused.
Yeah, you can see these. Mine doesn't even have a back plate on it because I can't find one. I'm not gonna make one, so it's just exposed wire. I'm getting there. I'm fixing that one, but yeah, let's go ahead and kind of move on to what we tend to keep in our pedal boards or our gig bags. We're gonna kind of see what he has, what I have, and check out the differences.
Alright guys, so we're going to go ahead and go through our gig bags and our pedal board box. That way we kind of get an idea of a few other things that a working musician probably is going to want to bring with them. So, would you like me to go ahead and start this out, or do you think you got it?
Start it out.
Okay, well, we're going to start off with what's in my bag. So, I got a lot of stuff, so be prepared. Generally speaking, these are all something I'm always going to have on me. I play a lot of different genres of music, mainly jazz, but a lot of other different types of music. So I'm gonna need several other things in my bag that most people aren't gonna need. So some of these things you may not need per se, but it's good to have. So let's go ahead and get into this a little bit. Strings. You need to have spare strings on you. Depending on what you play with, I generally speaking am going to have these Optima unique Studio Gold strings. These are awesome. They're not the cheapest string in the world, so this is not something that everybody's probably going to have or play with. But another really great set of strings that I actually used forever and I still go to are going to be these High Beams by DR. So this is actually something that I have in there. They're sitting right there just to have on deck in case I need them. I also have a set of flat wounds in my bag, usually at all times. I've been playing with these chromes, regular light flat wounds. I believe they're D-Arrow, yeah. Been playing with these lately. They're not bad. They have a good punch to them. They can get a real good bright tone out of them if you need it. I know a lot of flat wounds tend to have a more mellow, kind of hard to get a punch out of them sound. These kind of do a good job of hiding that.
So do you use the chrome, like what kind of gigs do you use the chromes on, like flat ones?
It kind of really depends because I generally speaking play with these for like everything. Just because I like the mid-range punch that they kind of produce, but if the gig is more singer-based, if I'm playing really with like a large group of singers, I generally will probably play with flat wounds just because I want my bass to more sit in the background of the mix.
Right.
You're really only supposed to be supporting the singers at that point. It also kind of helps take off the edge of the bass. That way the singers kind of have some cushion to kind of sit on, if that makes any sense.
Right. Kind of smooths it over a little bit in the mix.
Yeah.
I got you.
Certain jazz gigs too, if it's like a trio or like a duo, I'll probably play with the flat wounds just to kind of soften the sound and kind of warm things up a little bit.
So with like high beams or like anything round wound, what kind of music does that usually facilitate?
Man, everything. Depending upon how you play, you really can articulate and get a bunch of different sounds out of the strings that you're playing with. You really can make a really cheap set of like $20 Ernie balls sound like these $100 freaking gold strings. It's just about preference and feel. But really, flat wounds give you the most different sound out of strings that I've found. But probably I'm gonna lean towards these if I'm playing something that's way more funky or
A little
like
brighter.
Yeah, or like more like church. We play at Baptist church, so it's gonna be a lot more up tempo and shouting, stomping.
Right.
You're gonna want something that's gonna cut through the mix and kind of be a little bit more punchy, especially if I'm playing like blues. Blues, you especially want something that's gonna be like greasy, like it's gonna growl. So round is like the best way to go for that.
Yeah, for sure.
Especially when I used to play fretless a lot. Round wound on a fretless gives you the gnarliest growl ever. So don't play with flat wounds on fretless.
Oh, that's a hot take. That's a hot take right there.
Okay, no, you should definitely play with flat wounds at some point or another because the round wound will eat up the neck. But
yeah, that's true.
Take care of your instrument.
Yep. It's essential.
Yes. So, away from the strings for now. I mentioned I play jazz, so I need to have a music folder on me at all times. So we'll go ahead and get into this real quick. I have this old music folder. I've had this for a while since I've been in school. I keep all kinds of music in here. I have music that I'm playing with for college, at friends. I have personal music in here. I have charts from my buddies. I have random stuff that I like to play, like warm-up exercises, which is great to have. I have my pencil in here. I like to keep little sticky notes to give me notes to remember gigs. I also have a manuscript pad. That way I can write down stuff if there's like notes, anything I need to write down. I need to transpose something, I can do that. So it's kind of good to have these kind of things around. You kind of never know when you're going to have to read, or somebody's going to hand you a chart, and you might end up playing that again at one point or another with them, because it happens. So if you are a jazz musician, or even a classical musician, that's not something I generally play, ever, this is something you should have, even if you don't play jazz. This is just a good folder to have. Keep, if you print out tabs, keep them together. So if you go to gigs and you want to try to play that tab chart, I don't know if that's something that really gets done very often, or just read music, or use my brain. This is just kind of something you should have.
Stay organized.
Yes, it definitely
stay organized.
If you're like me, you forget things, that's something you should definitely have.
Yep. So cables.
Cables, man.
Yeah, that's the next one.
I actually use these guys for my instrument cables. I use these Roland Gold series cables.
Yeah.
These things are awesome. They're oxygen free. They're made really, what's that? What's the connectors? It starts with an N.
Nutric?
Yeah.
Nutricans?
Yeah, that should be the company, if I remember right, that they use.
It's the good stuff.
Yeah, this cable's awesome. I've had this for like years, and I mean it's served me well. I've never had any issues with it. As long as you wind it up properly, if you don't know how to do that, the over-under technique, learn it. Your sound man will teach you very quickly if he catches you doing it.
Don't be doing this.
Yeah, don't do
that.
Break if you do it the proper way, this thing will last you forever. I promise you. But I always keep two of these. I have another one that's down here in my bag in another pocket, just so in case this fails, I have a spare. Or if you need another one, or there's like a guitarist that doesn't have an instrument cable that shows up to the jam.
They always forget.
I save you.
Guitarists always forget.
Yeah, actually, speaking of guitarists always forget, we'll take a side step real fast. You reach in this pocket, deep down inside. Okay, we'll get to this stuff.
Deep down inside.
Yes, deep down inside, as Mr. Robert Plant would say. Guitar picks. I keep several different kinds of guitar picks in my bass bag because guitarists are notorious for not having these little bad boys. You'll never catch me using them.
I have mine, I swear. Look, I have mine in my pocket right here. I try to be responsible.
I got spares.
Responsible guitar player.
But I always do keep those on me. It's kind of good to have. Alright, joke aside.
Back to the cables.
Yes, other cables that I should have on me and that I usually do have on me. XLR cables. This is a nice ULA cable if you'd like to pick one up.
Nutric on these.
Yeah.
Get them made in Missouri, USA.
These things are awesome. But these are great to have if you actually are a working musician and you have a rig that has a DI valve. This will be very appreciated by any sound tech that is working your gig, because he's not going to have to waste time trying to find one or to route one. You're going to have one provided for him. Mm-hmm. But also that in case they run out of them, because I have actually been at several venues where they have ran out of XLR cables, and it's been a nightmare. So these are kind of just great to have on hand, especially if you go to a studio and like for some reason they don't have something for you, and you can just whip out your head and just plug it right in. I mean, it's that simple. Good thing to have. SPEAKON cables. I play with a Mark bass rig, and they use SPEAKON outputs on their heads and on their cabinets. So these are actually something that I actually have to have on me. So I keep multiple different SPEAKON cables in my bag for my head. So I have a pocket that I can keep all these cables in. I also keep a SPEAKON to 1/4" adapter, where it's a female SPEAKON to a male 1/4". That way, in case I ever need to plug into a 1/4" speaker output or input that doesn't, accommodate a SPEAKON, I have that ability. That way I don't get screwed in a pinch, because it can happen. Most Mark bass heads have the option to have a 1/4" out for their speaker, so just in case your SPEAKON output goes out or is broken, that's how I can get around that. So that's definitely something you should have in your bag. There's a few other random little cables that I keep. I have a XLR to an 1/8 inch in case you want to record to your phone or some other like device. Simple things like that.
Yeah.
Well, what else we got here?
Anything else?
Yeah, tuner. Gotta have a tuner, man.
Yeah.
I lost my clip-on tuner, so this is my old faithful that I've been using for quite some time. I don't even remember what the brand. First Act.
Oh, it's a First Act.
Man, I'll tell you what though, it's accurate. So
it does the job.
It does the job. This thing is awesome. Have a tuner of some kind in there, preferably one that does have the pitch control. That way, in case you do have to do something funky like that, you have the ability to do that. You can also change to the modes and tune to a specific note itself, and within like the spectrum. So if you want a higher C than a lower C, you can tune to something a little bit higher, which is kind of nice.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. I like having the ability to do that. It's not necessary, just a tuner of some kind.
Yeah.
I do have a couple other random little things. I keep a condenser microphone in my bag. It's like a little handheld one for your phone. That way I can record at a gig or a session
or something.
Yeah, or like a rehearsal. I want to remember something that's very specific that there's not a recording of available for me to listen to for reference. I will use that in that point. I also have a little handheld Sony recorder that I use as well for the purpose, just in case. You never know.
Yeah.
I keep tools too for working on my bass, so like screwdrivers, files, little pieces of sandpaper, knickknacks like that, Allen wrenches.
Yeah.
You never know when you're gonna have to adjust or fix something in your bass.
Yep.
Things go wrong.
They do.
That's life.
It's inevitable.
Then business cards. Business cards, man. If you're a working musician, you need to have business cards because people are gonna ask you for your info quite a bit. So it's just good to have them. That way you can throw it to them and be like, hey, pow.
You have to make that sound too. Pow.
Yeah, look, pow.
All right. Anything else, Chris?
Not really. That's probably going to be essential to the everyday person. A gig bag or a case of some kind.
A good one.
Mention, yes.
Good one.
Investing in a high quality gig bag or case really of any kind is definitely worth it. I know sometimes the prices of them kind of look a little bit like outrageous.
It's worth the money though.
Yeah,
really
it's really worth the money. Just spin it in. It's going to last you a long time. You're going to have a plethora of pockets and space.
Fit all of these things.
Yeah, I mean, most of the higher end like gig bags too are going to have a waterproof like coating on them, so that's pretty convenient. And most of them are also going to come with that really thick, high density foam that's like super protective. That's what this one's made out of, actually. So in the event that you're flying and they ask you to put your bass under the plane, if you get put on a smaller plane, it can take it, and your bass will probably survive.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Now watch out for TSA.
Yeah. Man.
All right. So some of the things I keep in my gig bag and my pedal board case, actually. So I have a few pedals, as most guitar players do these days. I know Chris is not much of a pedal user yet, but I have a few in my case. I keep a couple extras in there. Kind of with pedals, you gotta watch out for these guys here. It's always good to have a couple extra patch cables. They tend to go out at the worst possible time.
Literally, I can't even count how many times I've heard guitar players on a gig be like, "Yo, you got a patch cable?" No, I do not.
Nope. So keeping a couple of these around is good. Also, I have an ISO power supply. Keep an extra 9-volt, male-to-male adapter in case that goes out. I haven't had that issue yet. Cross my fingers. So I keep some of those. I also keep, kind of on the cable realm, 10-foot cable. I keep an 18-foot cable. So this is the one that goes from my board to my amp. I kind of like to have the extra length if I'm playing a bigger stage, or even if I'm playing a smaller area.
Like 25, 30-foot cable.
Yeah. It helps a lot to have more. But when it comes from my board to my guitar, I usually keep about 10 foot. I'm not trying to flail around too much. So that's kind of the cable situation. Another thing is I always keep extra long speaker cables because I typically play a lot of post-punk, loud rock music stuff. You're playing dirty, disgusting basements sometimes, and it's a very small space. So I play out of a head and cabinet. So there's times that I've had to consolidate and stack my other guitar player's amp on top of my cabinet, and I'll have to move my head down or to the side So I like to have the extra length, so I usually keep a 10-foot speaker cable actually in my bag. So that's something I've kind of kept on hand for a while. On the next thing, speaking of that, guitar strings. I go through strings pretty gnarly in terms of different kinds. I break them on the occasion. Speaking of that guitar, I've had to kind of file down the saddles to make sure it doesn't break there. But I kind of go through ARIA, Ernie Ball. I've been really hip to the Fender Bullets lately. Those have been kind of what I've been using. So you usually see any 3 of these brands kind of in my bag. Another good thing with strings is having a string winder. So this one is really cool. I have this one. It has the clips here. So you have the clip and then the winder. This one's cool too because it's double notched right there, so you can use it for bass as well. So this is a really cool one to have. This has saved me in a pinch. Just many times on tour I've had strings break, or I've had, like Kris was saying, keeping Allen wrenches, screwdrivers, stuff like that. You never know when things are going to fall apart. So it's good to have those things on hand. Also, a good thing of Gorilla Tape. I have had to use that on many of my strap buttons when I didn't have any, and I'll just tape it a bunch, and it works for the time being. Yeah, so I keep that guy. CAPO, sometimes I need it. I don't use it a ton. This is mainly for when I'm doing a lot of recording sessions and stuff. I have, a couple songs I might do CAPO with, but a lot of guitar players like to use them. And you never know when you're jamming and you want to be in a different key. Throw this guy on. Another good one for anybody is Kris kind of has that other tuner, but I have a tuner pedal. It's a Polytune. I've had a few different kinds. I had the Boss TU2. I like the housing on it, but the unfortunate thing about that is I played a gig outside one time, and the TU2 does not automatically adjust to light. So I couldn't see my tuner. I was facing the sun, and it was a nightmare. The Boss TU3 does adjust to light, and the Polytune I also had, and it adjusts to light as well. So I've been using this one lately. So if it's super bright out or super dark, it automatically adjusts, which is great. And I'd say the most essential thing, earplugs. You gotta have earplugs. Keep them protected.
Yes. I don't want to backtrack on you.
Go ahead, backtrack.
For the pedal, I know with some of them, whenever you engage it, does it mute your signal?
Yeah,
okay.
so this will mute my signal.
Cool.
And you can also use it as you can do a couple different displays and whatnot.
Yeah, there's a few things.
It's got an in and out, so I can actually plug another pedal from this pedal into it, so you kind of have another adapter, I guess, if you want to do that. I've done that before on my bigger pedal boards. So those are kind of the things I like to keep. It's good to have all those things on hand and to make sure you're prepared for any situation, like playing a gig at a house show with your head in a backpack, or gorilla taping your strap locks. It's good to have these things. So yeah, you can kind of see the differences. I don't carry sheet music. I don't have notations because I'm a dirty punk musician, and that's how we play. It's that way. But Kris is a great, fantastic, smart bass player who knows his things. So
I don't know everything. I know something.
But different sharks for different folks.
Yes. Obviously, I'm gonna have probably more than the average bass player in his bag, but
yeah,
it's good to have a pretty good variety of some of these items.
Yeah.
Obviously, you can take away what the essentials will be from this.
Cables,
strings,
tuners.
Yeah.
Those are kind of the big ones that are probably most going to be most
forgotten or neglected.
Forgotten, neglected, or ones also most likely to break.
Yeah.
So definitely keep those on hand.
Cables do go out eventually.
They do, but wrap them right. That's the second warning.
Yeah.
Wrap them right. But anyways, just let us know in the comments below what's some of the stuff you guys like to keep in your gig bags, and let us know if there's anything we missed that you might take or you
think is something that is essential that we definitely
missed.
We're missing out on that.
Yeah.
You use perhaps.
Or good tips and tricks. But
yeah,
while you're there, be sure to like and subscribe as well. And if you like what you saw, let us know. And we'll see you next time. Thanks.
It wasn't that much.
Bada bing, bada boom. Okay, let's do it.
Actually hard to
Full
fucking
Rain
play.
is fun. That's like my favorite beat to play. Alright, let's go.
Yeah.
Boom! That was pretty chill.